Have you ever woken up feeling like the world was already moving without you? Like your body got out of bed, but your mind was still catching up, unsure where to begin? If that sounds like you, take a moment and drop a comment below. What's the first thing you felt when you opened your eyes today? Because for most of us, it isn't peace, it's pressure. The to-dos, the notifications, the noise, rushing in before we've even taken a breath. But what if this morning could be different? What if, before you checked your phone or the headlines, you checked in with yourself? Because what you're about to hear isn't hype. It's not empty motivation. It's 9 powerful Stoic resets, clear, grounded reminders to help you lead with calm, think with clarity, and move with direction. This isn't just a morning routine, it's a mental reset, a quiet return to the version of you that doesn't chase, but chooses, that doesn't react, but responds. So if you've been looking for clarity, for structure, for a voice that brings you back to who you really are, keep listening. Because this morning isn't just a start, it's your return to center. Number 1, leadership by design. Set your mental agenda before the world. Have you ever opened your eyes and felt like the day had already claimed you? Like before your feet even touched the floor, you were already behind. Behind on emails, behind on clarity, behind on yourself. It's subtle but dangerous, because when you start your morning reacting, you start your leadership on defense. And for a man carrying weight, the weight of a company, a team, a reputation, that's a guaranteed leak in your foundation. Most people don't choose how they enter the day. They just wake up and get pulled into the noise, texts, alerts, opinions, obligations. But here's what Stoic leaders do differently. They don't schedule their first meeting with the world. They schedule it with themselves. Before anyone asks anything of you, you ask something of you. Who am I choosing to be today? Calm or chaotic? Reactive or strategic? Do I lead with anxiety or with clarity? This is the quiet work of command, and it starts not in the office, not in front of a whiteboard, but in silence before sunrise. There's a reason Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal before running an empire, not for productivity, but to remind himself that he was not just a ruler, he was a man. And as he said, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. That's not a motivational quote, that's a commandment. Because the way you enter your day determines how you'll own it. The Stoic leader doesn't wait for the world to set the tone. He defines it from within. He doesn't hope for focus. He builds it before anyone sees him. So tomorrow morning, before the meetings, before the metrics, before the madness, give yourself 5 minutes. Not to hustle, but to anchor. That's how real leaders begin. Not by reacting to noise, but by reclaiming their rhythm in silence, with intention, like a man who knows exactly what kind of day he's about to lead. Number 2, operational discipline. Build the habits that build empires. Here's the hard truth. Your business will never be more disciplined than you are. You can build brilliant strategies. You can hire elite talent. You can scale fast and spend big. But if your own daily systems are chaotic, if you wake up reactive, scattered, distracted, then sooner or later, your leadership will crack, because the culture of any company mirrors the internal rhythm of the one who leads it. Most people mistake discipline for restriction. They think it kills creativity, kills flow. But what if I told you the opposite is true? That discipline is what frees your mind to operate at a higher level, not under pressure, but with precision. You don't need to dominate every hour of your calendar, but you must own the first 60 minutes of your day, because that's where your edge is built. That's where chaos gets filtered out and clarity comes online. Start small, a cold shower, a 5-minute reflection, a notebook with 3 priorities written in ink, not fog. These aren't routines, they're declarations. Rituals of intent. You're not just building a schedule, You're training a mindset. And when the resistance shows up, and it will, remember this: no man is free who is not master of himself. That's Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher who understood better than most that freedom doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from command, the quiet kind, the kind you build in private, when no one is watching. You're not building discipline to impress anyone. You're building it because you're the system your team runs on. Your steadiness becomes their stability. Your clarity becomes their compass. Your commitment becomes the standard. So ask yourself, do your habits earn their respect? Because in the end, discipline isn't about controlling time. It's about respecting it. And nothing scales, not revenue, not innovation, not leadership, without that respect at the core. What's one morning habit you refuse to skip, no matter how busy the day gets? Drop it below. Your discipline might inspire someone else's breakthrough. Number 3, lead beyond ego. Shift from control to contribution. Most people think leadership is about control, controlling outcomes, controlling people, controlling perception. They think the strongest man in the room is the one who talks the most, commands the loudest, and dominates every decision. But real leaders know better, because real power doesn't come from control. It comes from contribution, not from managing others, but from mastering yourself, not from being impressive, but from being useful. Ego-driven leadership is loud, it's defensive, it clings to being right, to being seen, to being praised. But Stoic leadership, true leadership, is quiet, intentional, anchored in purpose, not applause. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet he asked himself every morning, what is my role? How can I serve today? Not, how do I protect my image, but how do I strengthen what matters? When you shift from control to contribution, everything changes. Your presence stops being a performance and starts becoming a force of calm. Your team feels it. People trust you not because you demand it, but because your energy makes them feel safe. You stop trying to dominate and start elevating, not by force, but by example. And ironically, the less you try to control, the more influence you actually gain. Because people don't follow leaders who flex, they follow leaders who align, leaders who are consistent, leaders who can absorb pressure without breaking, leaders who can make decisions from clarity, not ego. It's not about being soft, it's about being solid, stoic. This is where legacy gets built, not in moments of brilliance, but in daily acts of responsibility, in staying steady when others shake, in serving when others hide. And if you ever doubt the value of that quiet strength, remember this. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's not philosophy. That's instruction. And it's never been more relevant. So the next time you walk into the room, whether it's a boardroom, a crisis meeting, or a one-on-one, don't lead with dominance. Lead with contribution. Ask not, how do I control this, but how can I elevate this, because control is a game of the insecure. Contribution is the legacy of the strong, and the Stoic leader never confuses the two. Number 4, quiet power. Why the best CEOs let others shine. I once knew someone who ran a billion-dollar company, but he never led with volume. He led with presence. When he walked into a room, the air didn't change because he spoke louder than everyone else. It changed because he didn't need to. No show, no need to dominate, just stillness, the kind of quiet that makes people lean in. He wasn't there to impress anyone, he was there to elevate everyone. And he did, without demanding credit, without chasing approval. He didn't act powerful, he simply was. That's when I learned, real leadership doesn't steal the spotlight. It builds it, and then hands it to others. Because when your presence is grounded, you don't need to be the center of attention to be the center of gravity. Most people think humility is soft, passive, but to the Stoics, humility was the highest form of strength. Not the absence of power, but the refusal to wield it for ego. Seneca said it best, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." True humility isn't about stepping back out of fear. It's stepping forward without needing to be seen. It's knowing you're solid, even if no one claps, even if no one credits you, because you weren't doing it for applause. You were doing it because it mattered. In a world that rewards noise, Stoic leadership rewards depth. It's not performative, it's purposeful. When you don't lead to impress, you can lead to impact. And the best leaders, the ones who leave legacies, aren't the loudest in the room. They're the calmest, the clearest. The ones who listen before they speak. The ones who allow their team to rise without feeling threatened by it. Marcus Aurelius never needed the crown to remind people he was emperor. He wrote more about restraint than command, more about character than conquest. Because he understood something most modern leaders forget. It's not power that defines a man. It's what he does with it when no one's watching. So if you've ever wondered why people don't follow your authority, ask yourself, have I given them something real to follow? A steady hand, a quiet strength, a deeper reason. Because the man who builds others instead of spotlighting himself becomes the kind of leader people remember. Humility isn't silence, it's signal. It says, I'm here, I'm clear, and I don't need to prove anything because I'm already anchored. That's what makes you unshakable. Number 5, fear is data. Use it, don't obey it. What if I told you that fear is not the enemy? That the thing you've been trying to suppress, avoid, power through is actually the most honest data your mind is giving you? Fear isn't weakness, it's information. And if you're paying attention, it's a roadmap, pointing you toward the edge of your next evolution. But most people don't treat it that way, especially in leadership. We mask it with decisiveness, we drown it with noise, we avoid the conversation, the decision, the leap, because somewhere beneath the surface we're afraid to lose, afraid to be wrong, afraid to not be enough. But the Stoics saw fear not as something to run from, but something to study. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And he was right. Most of what we fear is a story, a projection, not a truth. That investor you're scared to call, that change you're hesitant to make, that risk you keep putting off, chances are it's not the actual event that's dangerous, it's the meaning you've attached to it. Fear unchecked becomes a prison. Fear observed becomes a compass. The difference between leaders who shrink and leaders who rise isn't the absence of fear. It's how they interpret it. One sees fear and freezes. The other sees fear and investigates. Why does this scare me? What belief is being challenged? What truth am I avoiding? And here's the breakthrough. Once you name it, you can face it. Once you face it, you shrink its power. And the moment you take action, however small, you begin to rewire your response. You stop reacting like a victim and start operating like a strategist. Every major leap in your life will be on the other side of fear. That first product launch, that tough firing decision, that personal boundary you finally enforce. None of it happens in comfort. It happens in tension. In the squeeze, in the shake. But if you can breathe through it, if you can move through it without needing it to disappear, you will earn a new level of internal command that no market downturn can take away from you. So next time fear whispers, don't silence it, study it, decode it, ask what it's trying to protect, then ask what it's costing you. And if the cost is clarity, growth, or truth, walk straight through it, not recklessly, but intentionally, with eyes open, with heart steady, because fear is not your wall, it's your window. You just have to be willing to look through it and lead anyway. Be honest. What decision have you been delaying because of fear? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes naming it is the first act of power. Number 6, confidence as currency. Back yourself daily. Most people think confidence is something you earn, a reward you unlock after the win, the recognition, the applause. But real confidence doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't need an audience. It begins the moment you open your eyes each morning and decide, I will show up for myself, regardless of how the world responds. Confidence isn't an event, it's a ritual, a quiet, personal agreement you renew daily, not for the crowd, but for your own integrity. It's built in those unseen moments when you choose to rise early, to breathe deeply, to recommit to the man you said you wanted to become. It's not about bravado. It's about consistency. You train confidence like a craftsman trains his hand, through repetition, through presence, through process. Not for show, but for substance. Each morning is a blank canvas. Not to impress, but to align. The way you sit, the way you walk, the way you speak to yourself when no one else can hear. That's where confidence is built. Quiet. Grounded, rooted in intention. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus didn't teach men to feel confident. He taught them to become self-governing, to build their lives on choices, not circumstances. He reminded us that nothing outside can make us whole. Only our actions, repeated with integrity, can do that. So if you want confidence, don't wait for it. Practice it. Each morning, do one small thing that reinforces who you are. Make your bed with purpose. Speak truth with clarity. Move your body with presence. Choose something hard and follow through. Not because it will make you look good, but because it strengthens your inner voice. Most men walk through life over-indexed on performance and undernourished in principle. They chase recognition, but lack reflection. They build brands, but forget to build themselves. And in moments of silence, they wonder, why do I still feel empty? Confidence answers that question. Not all at once, but slowly, in the way it returns to you, stronger, every time you choose to stay grounded when it would be easier to drift. So don't wait for the world to validate you. Validate yourself, right here, right now. Through your actions, through your habits, through the standards you hold when no one else is watching. Because confidence isn't what you wear on your best day, it's what you return to on your worst. And each morning, when you choose to show up, not for approval, but for alignment, you're not just building confidence, you're becoming someone unshakable. Number 7, real-time leadership. Make decisions from stillness, not stress. Let me guess, you've been praised for being decisive under pressure. You've been called the guy who acts fast, fixes fires, keeps moving, and maybe that used to be your edge. But now, it's starting to wear thin. Because deep down, you know what no one else sees. Most of those decisions weren't made from clarity. They were made from urgency, from stress, from survival. And the cost. Your energy. Your focus, your long game. In leadership, urgency is addictive. You feel important, needed, in control. But the Stoics warned us, when your mind is turbulent, your judgment is compromised. Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Think about that. The storm outside doesn't sink the ship. The water you let in does. Real-time leadership, the kind that endures pressure and preserves vision, requires inner stillness. Not fake calm, not forced optimism, but trained equanimity. The ability to observe the chaos without becoming it. You won't find that stillness by working harder or delegating more, Or reading another business book, you find it by conditioning your inner response, just like a soldier trains to move with precision under fire. It starts before the crisis, in how you handle small frustrations, in how you pause before responding to conflict, in how you breathe when your instinct is to react. Stillness isn't inactivity, it's controlled intensity. It's the space between stimulus and response, the space where leadership lives. And when that space gets wider, your decisions get sharper, your presence gets stronger, your people trust you more, not because you always have the right answer, but because you aren't ruled by panic. You don't add noise to the chaos, you subtract it. So the next time your phone buzzes with a problem, your Slack lights up with urgency, or someone's looking at you for the answer, pause. Slow your breath. Zoom out. Ask, is this a reaction or a response? One protects your pride, the other protects your mission. The Stoic leader doesn't need to raise his voice to take command. He leads from the inside out, composed, grounded, immovable. And in a world addicted to speed, that stillness becomes his superpower, because the man who can stay calm owns the room. What's one daily trigger you're working to pause before reacting to? Share it below. Someone else might need the same reminder.
Number 8. Language as leverage. How your words set company culture. No one tells you this, but the words you speak each morning don't just communicate your thoughts. They shape your culture. Every phrase, every tone, every offhand comment, they leave a residue. And over time, those residues become rituals, habits, norms. As a leader, you are the first voice your team hears. The way you open a meeting, the way you respond to setbacks, the way you describe a challenge, these choices echo. They create the emotional climate for the entire day. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And if that's true for you, it's even more true for those you lead. Because your language doesn't just reflect your mindset, it transmits it. Your words become the lens through which others experience pressure, solve problems, and interpret meaning. You don't need to deliver a TED Talk. You just need to be intentional. Say, "This is a lesson," not "this is a disaster." Say, "We're learning fast," instead of "we're falling behind." Because the language of leadership becomes the operating system of your organization. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being deliberate. Stoicism teaches us to name things clearly and calmly, to strip away exaggeration and emotion and see what is, so we can choose what to do next. So ask yourself, before you walk into your first meeting today, what tone will I set, not just with my strategy, but with my sentences? Will my team feel clarity or confusion? Will they walk away with courage or caution? Your words have weight, and when spoken with presence, they do more than inform, they inspire. So speak with care, speak with purpose, because one simple phrase, offered at the right moment, can change the direction of an entire day. Let your language lead with calm. Let it build others up, and let this morning be the one where every word you speak reflects the leader you're becoming. Number 9. Vision reset. Align daily actions with long-term legacy. What if I told you that legacy doesn't begin at the end? It begins this morning. Right now, as you wake up, as you make your bed, as you choose what kind of leader, what kind of man will walk into the world today. Legacy isn't carved in marble or written in news headlines. It's hidden in your habits, in the tone you set at the breakfast table, in the grace you show when things don't go your way, in the emails you write when no one will thank you for them. We often think greatness is a future destination, something far ahead, but the Stoics knew it's found in how we live today. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." You don't need a grand plan to build a meaningful life. You just need to align your actions with your values, one morning at a time. So ask yourself, if someone watched only your day today, Would they understand your values? Would they see patience, integrity, direction? Would they feel your legacy in motion, or just another rushed day? Because here's the truth. Every morning is a fresh vote, a small investment in who you're becoming. And over time, those votes add up to a reputation, to a legacy, to a life. So before you step out that door, pause, breathe, and remember, this isn't just another day. It's the beginning of something that will outlive you.
Before the day begins, take this moment. Breathe in, slowly. You're not just waking up. You're stepping into a new decision. You don't need to solve everything today. You don't need to impress, outperform, or control. You only need to show up with clarity, courage, and calm. That's Stoicism in practice, not as a theory, but as a quiet posture, a steady presence, a deliberate breath before the storm. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "Today I will meet interference, ingratitude, arrogance, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. But none of it can touch me unless I let it." So choose who leads your day, your emotions or your principles. No one needs to know you're practicing Stoicism, but they'll feel it in how you respond when tension rises, in how you pause instead of react, in how you speak when others spiral. Your power isn't in noise, it's in direction. And every morning you get to choose it again. So take one step, one quiet act of discipline, one graceful word. That's how legacies are built, not in speeches, but in mornings like this. If this gave you something to reflect on, leave a comment. What's the one principle you're carrying into your day? And if you'd like more like this, subscribe. And let's build the mindset, brick by brick, morning by morning. Now go, quiet, ready.